And then I went on set and I did a live action film with Tim Allen called Big Trouble. And, you know, nobody saw that in theaters. It was a comedy with a bomb on an airplane, and it was set to come out September 20th, 2001. So you only see that in streaming. But on the set of that, I had to let Tim Allen know that I was the real Buzz Lightyear. And he said, "How so?" And I said, "Well, remind me, I guess in the movie you're a toy, right?" And he goes, "Yes." And I go, "You just answered your own question." Well, there are different challenges. That's really weird. That is actually my phone ring, the old car horn that I'm hearing right now. I don't know if that's mine. It's probably my sister, and she calls every day, Laura. Different challenges to both, you know, and then it depends on, you know, what you're doing. So, you know, The Tick is fun, and you put on that costume, and thank you. It's such a genius creation by Ben Edlund, and so when you get to step into the shoes of the Tick, you know, that's a whole lot of fun, and that's almost, you know, a combination of bigger than life, like a cartoon, and a live action character. Then there's someone who's much more subdued, like Lemony Snicket, you know, that has different challenges. Couldn't you have watched something more pleasant than the sad lives of the Baudelaires? I actually got the tattoo. Look at this. I got it right here. I thought the tattoo train had passed me by, because you know, by the time I was 50, I didn't have a tattoo. But in reading that show, then, you know, we're doing the table reads, and Lemony says, "There's a time in my life when I had a woman that I loved, a home, and a reliable typewriter. I have none of those things now. All I have to remind me of that time is this tattoo." And I thought it was interesting, because then when we see that, of course, the evil Count Olaf and Lemony were in the same organization, and I thought, well, I'm going to get that tattoo. So Neil Patrick Harris got the tattoo as well. But his tattoo artist took some artistic liberties, and so he came back to show the tattoo, and Barry Sonnenfeld and Rose, the producer of the show, said, "That's great, we have to put makeup over it and do the right one." And he goes, "But I got the tattoo." They go, "It was the wrong one."
Oh, jeez.
So the only real tattoo in that show is mine. I thought, if I'm going to get one tattoo in my life, I want Michelangelo to do it, you know. So I did a little bit of I did some work to find out who might be interested. And there's this guy, Mahoney, who's considered the godfather of single needle pen and ink, I guess. And he's an old sort of like mobster from Boston. He was a heroin addict, apparently. He wasn't at the time. He was sticking needles in me, but a really interesting old cat. And I talked to him, so he has his people do the tattoos now, you know, but I said, "I'd like for you to do it." And he goes, "Yeah, I'll do your tattoo." And so he's doing my tattoo, and he hasn't said anything. He's just, you know, down there working on my ankle. And finally, after about 10 or 15 minutes, he looks up at me and he says, "I just love you in those national car rental commercials." Well, whatever got me in the door, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. These are long answers I'm giving. Everything's different. It's all different, and the process is a little bit different. I can't say I really enjoy one more than the other. They're all, you know, pleasing for different. And one other quick thing with that, when you do animation, it's really fun because there are so many artists involved in animation. So it's really fun to voice a character, which is normally what they tend to do the first thing, and then they animate to your features and everything. When you do when we did The Emperor's New Groove, they would film us talking, and they actually incorporated our facial, you know, movements and characteristics in the character. And so it's always fun afterwards to see what happened there. Well, I got to tell you, first off, I look for my Meepo skateboard, and if you don't know what one of those are, they're really cool. They got tires that you put air in them and stuff. They weigh about 40 pounds. It's got like a Tesla battery under it. It's got a range of about 40 miles. They go about 25 miles per hour. And that would probably get me there. I really do have one of those. I refuse to grow up, but I do wear protective gear. If we're going to talk about the Emperor's New Groove just for a moment, people are always curious about the relationship between Yzma and Kronk. I know Cusco was. Cusco? That's his name. When he asks Yzma, he says, he seems nice, and Yzma's like, he is. And I just thought that was one of those really curious, kind of creepy adult moments in a Disney movie. But this is the weird thing. I had actually worked with Eartha Kitt 10 years before we did that movie. In South Africa, I did these movies with Oliver Reed and Eartha Kitt, and I was about 22 years old at the time. I came back after the film, and Eartha was performing at the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood, and I thought, well, I just did a movie with Miss Kitt. I will go watch her perform. So I went, and she was very pleased that I was there, and then she invited me up to her room, and I sat on one end of the couch, and she sat on the other. The bed's like right there. She had a butler who she shooed. She goes, you can leave. And he said, Miss Kitt, if there's anything you're like, she goes, please go. That's when things just started. She had an animal she was petting, and to this day I can't tell you what it was because it had hair going over its eyes. I assume it was a dog, and she's like, darling, how are you? And I'm like, very good, Mrs. Kitt. All I knew is I was in way over my head. She did not come right out and say anything, but there's just that sense you have when you are in way over your head. And I ran out of that room with my tail between my legs, realized later in life what a pussy I was. I really should have. I should have. So if anybody ever wondered if Yzma and Kronk, would have ever gotten it on. I think so. If Kronk wasn't gay, I'm pretty sure Kronk was gay. I just have a feeling. I didn't know those were my kids. Wait a minute. They could have been. There is so much in that series I don't get. Like, my sons would have to explain to me what was going on. They're like, didn't you read the script? I go, I just read my shit. That's it. I thought both those boys were just total pains in the ass. One of my favorite episodes was the one where Meg has a crush on Joe, which was just so kind of gross and creepy. And of course, I got to record, because with the lovely Mila Kunis, we actually recorded that together, and it was nice working with her on that. But that was probably one of my favorite episodes. I like it when they integrate Joe a little bit more. What poison? Poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. The poison chosen especially to kill Cusco. That poison. Right. Whenever you were invited back, you always felt very, very lucky to be there on Stage 9 over there at CBS Radford. And that's in Studio City. So still some people think that was filmed in New York, but it was all in LA. I love doing the high five car salesman one. That was a fun one. And the face painter one was a lot of fun. It was interesting doing that show because, like, my parents are very, very religious. They've hated the fact that I've been on Family Guy for decades and tried to, they've asked me. My mother's part of the Parents Television Council, and their biggest fish to fry is to get Family Guy off the air. And my mother one time actually tried to have me sign a petition to get Family Guy off the air. And I reminded her what I did and how I was putting her 4 grandkids through college and what I was actually helping support my mom and dad with at the time. I said, so this is the most ironic donation anybody's ever made, Mom, and I know exactly what you're doing. You are laundering Family Guy money through God and the Parents Television Council. But when I did Seinfeld, that first episode, because this is where my mom and dad were, my father was in the monastery for 3 months before he went into medicine. And my mother is, if it's possible, is more religious than my dad. And so when I did that first episode of Seinfeld, it was the move episode where I steal a Jerry's move and use it on Elaine. And I got a 6-page letter from my father, how disappointed he was in the choices that I was making.
We hope you enjoyed these panel highlights from DragonCon. That's all we can show you here, but if you want to see the full panel and much more, go to dragoncon.tv. You can sign up for a membership for $10 to see panels from the most recent DragonCon and years past. And this isn't $10 a week or a month. It's $10 for a 1-year membership. So check out dragoncon.tv, and of course come back to Fandom Spotlight for more panel highlights and full panels from many other conventions. Enjoy!
So, what are we going to do tonight, Rain?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Watch Fandom Spotlight videos and then take over the world.
Hey, God, that's great! And maybe we should tell them all to have fun?
And follow their fandom. Then bow before my genius.